So I want to welcome everybody tonight. My name is Mick Kennedy. I'm founder and editor of the Heartland Review, the founder of the Heartland Review Press, and we are so very honored to have our 2022 Chapbook contest winner, Betsey Cullen, with us tonight, reading from her work, We Hold the Bones. It was wonderful working with Betsey while we put together her book, and I appreciate her patience with me. We had a few editing issues, and she was just such a great sport about all of that. And I think we produced something that was really nice. And of course, her work is what we are celebrating tonight. As I said, she was the Chapbook contest winner. The Heartland Review Press for the 2022 contest received 88 chapbook submissions. That's the most we've ever had in our 3 years in offering this prize, which makes her work even more special. Let's see, we are going to be taping this tonight, so this will be running for quite a while on the Facebook feed of the Heartland Review and also Bass Clef Books. And Betsey's going to read a selection of poems from the book, We Hold the Bones, and then she will read a few other poems. And then after she is finished reading, we will definitely open up the floor for questions, comments, and what have you. So once again, I want to thank you all so much. And Betsey, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you so much, Mick. It's my pleasure to be here and to welcome so many friends and family to the reading. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'm very pleased to share excerpts from my award-winning collection, We Hold the Bones. Before I start reading, I'd like to thank Mick, the editor of the Heartland Review, for giving me the opportunity to read my work. Mick and the associate editor, Amy Fox, are on the faculty of Elizabethtown Community and Technical College in Elizabeth, Kentucky. Mick supervised the selection, printing, and distribution of We Hold the Bones. As an Elizabeth, perhaps my selection as their poetry prize winner was fate. My small chapbook began with an accumulation of documents, stories, memories, and photos of my father, Jack Weingart, who died suddenly before his 40th birthday, leaving my mom, Eleanor, to raise 3 of us, Anne, John, and me, the youngest. In fact, my father did not live a documented life. We have one letter he wrote, a collection of letters my mother wrote to him. He saved them. My brother's interview of his sister, our Aunt Mary, a scrapbook in which his mother, my Nana Weingart, clipped together remembrances. And then there are 2 condolence letters that I often read, often wet with my tears. Perhaps we remember so little about him because we were so young when he died. Perhaps, or actually clearly, fathers in those days were not as hands-on as today. Perhaps, like our mother, we repressed him altogether. These small poems describe shoulders I stand on. I hope my father's and mother's progeny, 3 children, 10 grandchildren, 23 great-grandchildren, and 2 great-great-grandchildren, one of them born on his birthday, share my gratitude to those who came before. I'll begin by reading 10 poems from We Hold the Bones, and then I'll read a couple of my more current poems, hopefully for your enjoyment. We hold the bones in memory of my father, John Alfred Jack Weingart, Jr., 1911 to 1951. Because there will be a time when we cannot keep track of them, scattered in the cemetery like prodigals, we collect the bones. We say the names of the dead, the music of syllables. We hold the bones. That's a quote from a poem, Moving the Bones by Rick Barrow. And another quote that I love from Donald Justice, Father, while I live, you do not wholly die. This first poem, called How We Handled It, lays out the characters of my book. My granddad, Al, 71, whittled a hickory cross, nailed it over the fireplace in our log cabin, wrote no more poetry, laid down his violin, never spoke of his son to any of us. My Nana Edith, 71, collapsed like a rag doll, fell into deafness, hair pulled from skull, eyes aglaze, mind like curdled cheese. Who are you? She asked her daughter. My mother, Eleanor, 39, shed lace, donned heavy-duty gloves, her expectations like shackles. No choice, she said, head down, stiff upper lip. My sister Anne, 12, saw dreams canter away, no horsey friends, no blue ribbons strung post to post, no roan. Soon it began, her desire to get away, anyone in pants, a vehicle. My brother John, 8, shunned long pants, dark socks, manly chores. He jumped from windows, unscrewed neighbors' Christmas lights. I'm glad I didn't look into the coffin, he wrote years later. And I, nearly 7, ate my grief. White bread slathered with butter and sugar, junket jars in the closet, never winning my mother's approval. Left with friends during the funeral, I knew I made him die. This second poem, a letter to my 6-year-old self, conjures many images, but it also looks to the reality that we were not very good at understanding how children grieve when my father died. It was the early 50s. I think we've learned a lot since that time. So this is a letter that I wrote to my 6-year-old self. Sweetheart, you are special, haloed by soft blonde curls, smile a wisp of mischief. Like Atlas, you carry the world. Then, when Daddy dies, you spin out wise. Become judge, Jury. Evidence piles up. You let the dog out. Lose the library book. Leave a toy in the hall. Get mad. Wish him dead. That's it. No funeral for you. Daddy sinks like a stone in a pond. No ripples. No crying time. No lit candles. No, remember how he made us laugh? A blue moon. Start howling. Never stop being afraid. I wish we knew about grief then. Wish Mommy let you wail in her arms. Years later in therapy, you shriek, I did it. Oh, dear one, like red flame water lilies rooted in muck, these welts from your own whip. Sweetheart, hear me. He got sick. He died. This next poem is entitled Nana's Scrapbook, 1910 to 1945. And what a treasure this scrapbook is. And I think you'll learn about it from the poem. More time capsule than family Bible, pages fray, stained with memory. Every inlay, fingerprints, husband, children, beloved places, and poems in faded print. If this book had buttons, they'd pop. Where else find birth announcements for son Jack and daughter Mary? A lock of hair, captured toddler words, I am 2 years old. Where else learn about Nana's musical tea that raised $50.20 toward the perpetual care of monuments and grounds? How Jack hustled $25 in tickets around town. How she directed the children's choir, Mary on drums, Jack on sax. Where else find Jack's 83 in grade 3, Mary's 92 in grade 1, or a letter from her mother, or obituaries, her father's, cousin Violet's, and Reverend Leander Daniels, whose death, like theirs, was but a point between 2 eternities. Countless clippings ring with every launch from our shipyard, with wedding bells and births, my own in April 1944. Like summers erased, every opening tenders an embrace. I hold her in my arms, finger the blood-red spine, and gently stroke the silk twine that marks her place and mine. Apocrypha. I remember Daddy's hand lifting me from the undertow at Jones Beach, sand castles and gull cries. I remember trying to match his stride on Fifth Avenue, hand in mine, a dance on shoe tops. They say he laughed at his own jokes until he cried, invented things. They say he ate grapes from the centerpiece, dropped a tray of wedding crystal, left shards in the carpet. They say he brought me uninvited to a parent getaway, rubbed my tummy for luck. I remember running down the hall into his arms, scruff of beard on my cheek. I remember happy birthday to you, a record in the closet, his voice. I remember everything. I remember nothing. I don't know whether you could see this, but this is, I'll try. This is my parents at the beach and inspired this next poem called Happiness, August 1948. My parents trade diapers and deadlines for bathing suits and daydreams. Grab the ferry from Bayshore to Fire Island. Slip away to ribbed sand, sea green. Daughter of Helios, my mother adores shimmer on skin, embraces seascape. My father adores her lift of chin, her beauty on intimate terms with the sun. They succumb to sea breeze, tennis at 10, whites tinged with red clay, tossed where shed, mouthfuls of briny skin, hazy song of sea sparrow, lobster rolls on deck. Why not believe lobsters gave up the sea for them? After lunch, a walk by the shore, then drinks at sundown, a rosy glow. Tipsy, my mother takes my father's arm, dune soft. Years later, I find the queen conch they brought home, the lift to your ear and hear the ocean kind, whirl like memory, inner core faintly rainbowed, nacreous. A memory entitled Hot Water. Bath time. The house should have exhaled silence. Rather, we three roughhouse, probably stoked by coke left on the counter by Uncle Sid. Its forbidden high driving us into walls, each other's, bodies pulsing rivalry. Whack! My brother slams the bathroom door, mashes our sister's fingertips. She screams, a siren. As my brother and I slip into the tub, my father's anger stomps up the stairs. He threatens, I'll show you, and orders, stand. His belt slides through its loops, uncoils on my brother's rump. Belt buckle, welt, rising like a red brand. Stoic, my brother takes it. I, barely 6, stroke his wound with my fingertips, wail as if I felt the lash. Daddy dies within a year, leaves himself everywhere. Even now, at 78, I yearn to rethread that belt, repress, rewind. This is not the portrait I want to present to the world, but he was a man, not an icon. He wore the belt. He used it. I mentioned the condolence letters, and these are just brief excerpts from them, but I think they give you a wonderful sense of who my father was. Condolences, February 1951. Jack, most lovable, privileged to know, ever sharp man, one of us. goodwill, cooperative, respectful, endearing, splendid character. I will never forget him. Herman Hill. Shocked to hear, so sudden and unexpected, wonderful ability, capable and charming manner, likely president of Eversharp one day. Good businessman, good family man. From Canada, deepest sympathy. GSN Gosling, CBE, Managing Director, Eversharp International Incorporated. This is a kind of true story. A few years ago, I went out to California to visit the Weingarts out in California, and I took with me a cross that my grandfather had made when my dad died, the one alluded to in the first poem that I read tonight. And so this is a poem that I wrote for my nephew Jack, who I shared the cross with. In fact, I gave it to him, but as I wrote the poem, I realized that part of me could never give that cross away. The cross for my nephew Jack. An offering, 2 hickory twigs hand-notched and crafted into a crude cross, tacked over the fireplace in Nova Scotia, passed on to me, stowed in our grandfather clock, safe from Door Creek, pendulum sweep, over 60 years. Your great-grandfather whittled it in memory of soul-begotten son. Grandfather, you never knew. Now in my palm, a pledge of faith, stigmata if I believed, small spike, weighed down with 60 years of rust. My father a haunting, his loss made flesh. How do the dead reach into our lives? Reckless time. I am old, too long tied to songs no longer sung, aura of he who died young. Jack, you carry his name, move through life like the father I knew in dreams. Your Tahoe home a bell, a call for kin. You've lived 15 years longer than he did. Your hands are open to stories and keepsakes from my hands, an exchange as inevitable as death. Still, I drop into a well of tears, the overflow. Imagine the exchange, the prick of fingers, blood blend. I see the cross affixed to cabin wall, his presence, yours to own, mine to release. Still I cling like lichen to a dead log. Delay the succession, delay the shift, delay the laying on of hands, reinstate the cross to clock case, rewind the clock. Field of Dreams. My dad loved the Brooklyn Dodgers. And so, of course, I love the Brooklyn Dodgers. And when Kevin Costner's Film came out a few years ago, The Field of Dreams. At the end, when Costner plays catch with his father, I just sort of collapsed. But it inspired this poem, Field of Dreams. He passed on his Brooklyn Dodgers to me, Pee Wee, Duke, and Jackie as extended family, who finally beat the Yankees in '55. Victory sweet, despite his empty bleacher seat. I was left with memories as frozen on 12-inch screens as his life at 39. Left with muted crowd noise, game in perpetual rain delay. Consider ball field as father's search, diamond as family jewel, grass as emerald, groomed base paths an invitation, bat a connection, leather on palm, sweet consolation, peanuts and Cracker Jacks, salt on tongue. Will he emerge from a cornfield? Build these poems, he will come. And the last poem, after which I'll read a couple of my other poems for you, and then we'll do some questions. This last poem is called Pretense. For years, I gripped my father's pinky in my 6-year-old fist, hugged him to my chest like a beloved bedtime bear. For years, I protected him, studied his smile, dreamed him alive. Because death snared him at 39, I expected my husband and son to die at that age. They lived. Even when breast cancer found me, I brushed it off like a nagging fly. Then finally, when I turned 60, the jigsaw pieces fit. My smile, my daughter's inner beauty, my son's humor, my niece's kindness, my granddaughter's open heart, all his, blood thick. At last, I believed I could let him go. Thank you all. It is an emotional journey. Okay, a little change of tone here. One of the people that I acknowledge in the book as extremely important to me, along with many of my wonderful readers and friends and people like you, Neil, I describe as an exacting critic. So this is my poem for him, Exacting Critic, for Neil. Her man, a most talented sleuth, set off as if pulling a tooth. Good God, cried his wife, as he plunged in the knife. Did you think I expected the truth? A poem for Neil. I apologize. He says it embarrasses him a little bit, but oh well, it is what it is. For Neil. Neil played the trumpet when he was younger, so it really fits. Play me like Wynton plays his horn. Syncopate me, anoint me, make my lips a riff for your tongue. If souls hum songs, you are the water is wide, a lap of quiet ripples, an augmented seventh, my bluesy trill. After all these years, you know me by heart. Play me. This next poem I wrote in memory of a woman that certainly the family members who are here listening today knew. She was a wonderful friend of my mother's, name of Jane Henderson. And she attended all our family gatherings and stuff. And she died this year, or last year, I guess, in 2022, at 104. This poem is called The Visit. Gaunt, you furrow your brow, deflect affection. Still I'm here, regretting long absence, guilt being pablum I was raised on. Damn it, Jane, we're friends, we're family close. Of my mother's friends, you're the last alive. My visit and offering you can't rebuff. Our conversation one way until you thank me for coming, a social grace pulled from an old suitcase. At 104, you shrink to skeleton, veins exposed like rivulets. A prickly pear cactus on the windowsill, shriveled. A Scripps College bulletin, limp with fury at the father who pulled you out after your freshman year. Your pearl choker, Talbot's latest catalog, old map of Paris, Philadelphia orchestra stub, grubby birthday card made for my mom, Lamut stuffed. We lay down, old dogs, don't we? Johnny Walker Black winks from the corner. For you, Scotch is medicine, straight up, 4 ounces a day. You've made peace with your mother and helped me do the same. Now I take your place as elder. I didn't come for you, Jane. I came for me. And finally, maybe not as cheery as it could be, but a poem that I've been working on recently, Of All Flesh. Future as now, immersion in Quaker values, the weight of silence, the palette of sunset, compassion as daily bread, old age a spyglass reversed, a narrowing from cars to electric carts. My beautiful friend is losing her mind. Her confusion a clash of notes, middle C against B flat. Still she sits at the piano, plays Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata, as if bathed in moonlight. I feel the thrum of Beethoven's deafness through the soundboard. Our love spans 60 years, growing older. I believe we love one another enough to embrace that 7th stage. Sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. Let us die with Beethoven's Ode to Joy on our lips in one voice. Thank you so much, you guys. Really appreciate it. And I guess Mikkel, thank you.
I just turned mine on.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Betsy.
Oh, thank you, Mick.
So we're going to open the floor now so that if you have a question or a comment for Betsy, you can share that. So we'll just wait and see who goes first. We still have some chats coming in from people saying,
Yeah,
well
that's
done,
nice.
way to go. Okay, Wendy, you may go ahead.
Okay. There's such a fine line between sentimentality and real deep emotion. And that last is really what you made such a powerful use of in your book. And I'm wondering, how did you work at that? Did you have problems with figuring out the difference and where the line is?
Absolutely. You know, I've struggled with this for my life. So to really articulate my dad's loss without, you know, from some distance, I guess that was the real gift of writing this book, because just the writing of it gave me a distance that I had never been able to have when I was growing up. When I was growing up, just the mere mention of my father would bring me to tears. I guess that's partly my personality too, but I think this book and these poems did help me let go.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yes, Amy?
Thank you for sharing, Betsy. I have a question. Now that you see your work in print, do you see patterns that you didn't see before, or something that you didn't notice about your own work now that you have the book?
I guess they say that a book should have an arc, right? And I don't think I really understood that. I don't think you do understand it until you put the work together and hold it in your hands and read it yourself. And in preparation for tonight, I've read it several times aloud. I've shared it with a close friend. You know, we don't do this work in isolation. For example, Wendy, who asked the question, we read each other's chapbooks, and Wendy really helped me reorder the poems. I had started in chronological order, and she pointed out to me that it was much more powerful to start with the how we handled it all around to coming to full circle to pretense. That I think when you hold it in your hands and you read it aloud, the power of it becomes much more tangible. So thank you, Amy.
And we have a question from, is it Brigitte Alexander?
Brigitte, yeah.
Brigitte. Brigitte, did you have a question?
Is she on mute?
Yeah, maybe she's muted. Forget to. Yeah. Yep,
Yes,
she lowered her hand. So
Oh, okay. Okay. Anyone else? Yes, Rich Weingart.
Hi, Betsy.
hey, Rich.
Um,
Hi,
we
Beth.
Hi, Betsy.
we
That was amazing.
yeah we loved it. Thank you so much. And this is a mark that you're leaving that's gonna impact a lot of people. So it's really cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you how much were you able to mend the wounds with your mom in her lifetime, and then how do you feel about your relationship with your brother right now, like, and how that's all come full circle? Because I know, things get complex, but I'm just curious on those things.
I was really blessed, Rich. I was able to be with my mother through her old age, and that was such a gift. And I forgave her. Someone told me at one point, you really can't grow up until you forgive your parents. And that's sort of an interesting twist. But she and I became very good friends. And I really had always admired her for raising the three of us. And she's very strong. She just was very judgmental and had other shortcomings like we all do. And my brother, I think you should ask him, but I like to think that things are better than they have been. And, we are 80 years old, right? And you only have so much time in life to carry around old grudges. And I think if we can lay those down, we're much healthier and happier people. So I'm trying. I'm trying.
You've been awesome. It's been fun to have a relationship with you and everybody in your family. So
Yeah.
thanks for doing the book, and it was beautiful. Thanks, Betsy.
Thank you, Rich. Rich is my brother's third son, and I like to think that there's a good part. He's a good Weingart. He's a good Weingart. Has a lot of my dad in him, like that last poem said. Thank you, Rich.
Thanks, Betsy.
Thank you for doing that. It's been so enlightening, I think, for all of us. It's just been very special for us to read.
Yeah, everybody's been talking about your book out here.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
In a good way.
That's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So next person with the question is it Manya Bean?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Manya.
Hi, listen, I really wanted to thank you so much for doing this reading. I just loved it. And I really relate to you about the healing of writing, the healing that happens when you write a poem. That is such a great thing. You can feel it, when it's out there and it's done, you're like a different person in a way, right?
Correct. Yes.
So
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in. I'm really touched that you're here.
Right.
When you set out to write a book, you think you're writing about your father, which I did, but I think you're really writing about yourself. And that's just, you can't really avoid that. Nor do you want to.
Right, exactly. Thank you.
So in the chat, we have let's see, Rebecca Cullen said that she had a question from her friend Christopher, who wants to know which poets inspire you most.
Boy, there are a number of them. I think formative for me have been poets like Wendell Berry is one of them. Mary Oliver, many of us know. Both of those two poets are particularly nature oriented, which I'm not particularly, but I still love their work. Recently, I read a book by Chris Abani called Burning the Bible, I think it's called. It's, oh no, excuse me, Smoking the Bible. An amazing collection of poems that I would recommend to any of you. Anything that captures imagery. We have to read in order to write better. And that's probably my weakness as a poet. I don't read enough other poetry. But I'd say those three are pretty formative in my life.
So you mentioned about having one of your friends, forgive me for forgetting your name, but you two kind of cycled back and forth between chapbooks. Are you involved in any other kind of writing communities right now who help you to generate and see your work through different eyes?
Absolutely. I teach at Osher Lifelong Learning Institute in Wilmington, Delaware, and I'm always learning from my students, always writing with them, talking about how to make our work better. I am part of a writing group in York, Pennsylvania. We have Wendy, who was on earlier. She and a friend of hers, Gail, and I have gotten together to write. You cannot do this work in isolation. You have to have readers and responders to make your work really better. And that's one thing. I am so lucky, by the way, to have a husband who loves poetry. And we kind of fell in love with poetry together, as a matter of fact, took a class together. And the fact that Neil really takes pride in me and my work has just been fantastic. So he's my first reader, but yes, I'm in those other writing groups, and I attend workshops. I just had a course online with Ellen Bass, who is another wonderful poet. Just trying to push myself to learn more about the craft and to celebrate poetry. Nothing like it.
Thank you. Maria Greenwald has a question.
Hi, Maria.
Hello. I just wanted to say that, can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Can even see you, which is not, yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to say that I loved all of the poems and I think they're very inspiring. And I just wanted to know which one did you like the best in writing? Like, which one is your favorite?
Oh, great question.
Boy, that's like asking you to choose between your favorite children, right? It's not really fair. But as I wrote it, I loved writing Happiness, the poem, because it was just so, such a delight. We don't like to really imagine our parents having sex, right? I mean, that's kind of, oh, yuck, right? But in that poem, I think that was a lot of fun, actually trying to have those, after tennis, little rendezvous there. So I think that was a lot of fun to write. I would say the first poem. Really, which summarizes the impact of my father's death on the critical people in the book. So I would say, each one has its own place in my heart.
Anyone else? Rich has brought in a comment. Betsey, your comments on forgiveness ring so true for all of us, or at least for me. Made me think of the quote by Mark Twain: "Forgiveness is the fragrance that the violet sheds on the heel that has crushed it." Great quote. Penny has a question.
Hi, Penny.
I think she lowered her hand.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Okay. Anyone else? Is that Penny wanting to ask a question?
Yeah, I think we can wrap it up, Nick. It's
Okay.
wonderful, a wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing these poems and this hour with me. I am deeply humbled and so grateful.
Well, I think that all of us have come away from this with better insight into life itself and our own personal beings. I think that your poem's written from the heart, and that sheds a light on everyone else's heart as well. And I just want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. This was such a wonderful time, and we're so very grateful that we have a poet in the world like Betsey, who has given us some work that we can truly cherish and enjoy for years to come. And to repeat, we have been taping this, so as soon as I do a little bit of finagling with the recording, it will be on Facebook page, and I will let Betsey know when it goes live so that she can get in touch with everybody who might want to revisit. I'm also going to, and I haven't done this before, but I'm going to try my hand at the closed captioning bit. I think there's a little device on YouTube that you can just switch on, because I think it'd be really neat to be able to see the words as Betsey is reading her poem. So thank you so much again, everyone. And Betsey, thank you so much. And everyone have a wonderful evening.
Thanks, Mick.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Betsey.
travel safe.
Thank you, Betsy.
Bless everyone. Thank you.
Super, super.
So do you wrap it up, Nick?
Yeah, that's pretty much
That's it.